And I guess we'll be going over for mine because we definitely want to save Nier's series for last year. But I have Kaina of the Great Snow Sea. This Oyukimi no Kaina. So this is a based off a manga published in 2022, I believe, by Nihei Tsutomu. If you don't know what that name is, some of these titles might jog your memory. Ajin, Sidonia no Kishi or Knights of Sidonia, Blame. These are all series that were previously made by Nihei Tsutomu. He also has a kind of like cyberpunk kind of general theme ish in a lot of his other shorter works. He worked with Paul. This series in particular was adapted by Polygon Pictures, and if you guys don't know what that studio is, it was a studio founded in 1983. Their main focus is on making 3D CGI stuff, mainly for pachinko, but they've also helped with Pacific Rim animated stuff for Godzilla animated stuff. Made a lot of the made a lot of those movies. For instance, Godzilla the Planet Eater. They did some Transformers animated stuff, and they did receive a couple awards for those. But essentially, they are celebrating their 40th anniversary celebration, or 40th. They are celebrating the 40th anniversary this year with with this project by doing animating this, and they obviously um, got probably the safest pick, right? They worked with Polygon Pictures worked with this guy on Ajin, on Blame, on Knights of Sidonia, and they were like, and they were all kind of major works for Polygon Pictures, and they were like, might as well, right? And in contracting and a lot of these like project things, it's kind of who you know, not uh, and what ideas you can pull from them to get new project ideas up to the public production committees to start up the anime. And so, I think this was a very stable choice for them. This was a very obvious choice for them. And they pretty much they pretty much got the old team up again. All the people that previously worked on stuff like Ajin, like Blame, like Knights of Sidonia, all of the standard Polygon Pictures veterans that worked on Godzilla, some people that worked on some other stuff from outside the studio, like Junie Tyson. They kind of gathered them up. Most of the people in the production staff and the animation audiovisual staff are pretty much veterans. Couple of exceptions, but most of them at least have like 5, 7+ years of experience each. Um, but yeah, so pretty much all of them are Polygon Pictures veterans, have worked on all their major works, so on. I would say maybe the only kind of newbie is like Misaki Umase working on the music. She worked on uh, some of the newest Precure and stuff. But yeah, some standouts I would say probably is the what is it? The art director who did background art for Lupin Third, Carnival of Phantasm, Crayon Shinchan Doraemon movies, Anthem of the Heart, Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal and Dark Side of the Dimensions, stuff like that. One of the outsiders here, as well as um, animation character design, Kyoko Kotani, a lot of, big veteran, worked on anything from Bakuto Test to like Kuroko no Basket stuff. And there was also the background designer who, under Matsumoto Yoshikatsu, who worked with Polygon Pictures. He did Kyoani background art during the best works such as, Kana, Keon, Nichijo, so on. Did background art for a bunch of different series while being contracted under Anime Workshop Basara, for instance, Angel Beats, Harui, so on. Did background art for Kimi no Nawa. He's just like super good, and this art direction and the background art you can see the effects of in the you can definitely see the effects of in the anime. Just the sort of ethereal, the large, grandiose backgrounds are all very beautifully rendered and pretty well modeled. So, Slate said, "Is it strange to enjoy this anime more than new Trigun anime?" Well, I think it depends on what you want, what you were expecting from each series. Is sort of maybe how I would politically put it. Obviously, we'll maybe be talking about the stuff. We'll be talking about comparisons in a bit, but yeah, again, most people just the solid Polygon Pictures team coming in through the door. Oh, as well as we can't forget main theme composition done by or the OST rather is done by the none other than Hiroyuki Sawano, right?
Never heard
And
of
if you
him.
don't
Wow,
know,
wowie.
if you don't know who that name is, you should exit this podcast right now. I don't know what else to say. I don't mean to be rude, but
I love El Noah Zero.
yeah,
Name
that's
one.
actually his most famous series, bro.
Name one recent thing they did, Spire. You get one
um,
chance.
86, 86, right? Is probably
Wrong.
his most recent one.
Wrong. Gundam
Um,
Unicorn
Gundam.
and narrative.
You just said recent, right?
Yeah, I don't know what year you're living in, bro, but
You also forgot a One Piece film Red.
Yeah. He also did One Piece film, right? I apologize. Obviously, again, he's known for Attack on Titan, Blue Exorcist, Guilty Crown, Legend of the Galactic Heroes, Kill la Kill, Nanatsu no Taizai, Thunderbolt Fantasy. Of course, we can't forget
of
that one.
course.
86, Outdoor Zero, just down the line. One of the most famous anime OST composers of all time.
Here, who do you think would win in a fight? Hiroyuki Sawano or Kenji Kawai?
Fuck, that's
Holy shit, bro.
shit, bro. Oh,
Um,
I'm already like, oh shit.
I'd probably go
Let
with
you know what?
Kenji
Let's throw.
Kawhi.
Oh, what about? Okay, what if we throw in
Yeah.
Hideyuki Fukasawa to the mix?
Um, what has he done recently?
Orient
Tsukihime,
and Tokyo 27 Floor. I
Mahotsukai
didn't
no
find Orient
Yoru,
that good.
Fate Unlimited Blade Works,
He did the
Akuno
new
Hana,
he did
Vivid
the new
Red.
Tsukihime stuff.
Yeah,
He did
Tsukihime, dude.
Tsukihime remake, sorry.
I'd probably still go with. I'd probably still go with Kenji Kawhi.
Yeah, Kenji Kai is too much of a classic. Like it's so hard.
You really like
His
that Emiya theme, huh,
discography.
Nier?
Yeah.
Pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Anyways, obviously
So how's
this
the animation, Spire? Might as well go there, because
yeah,
Slade compared it to Trigun, and this is
yeah, yeah,
also
yeah.
CG, is it not?
It's entirely CG, and so I want to preface this by saying again, you know, Polygon Pictures was very aware, for the 40th anniversary, they brought in the heat. They brought the heat. They brought in all the good people. Like, none of these people are like sketchy, like, oh, they did some weird series that was like not very good. All of these are veterans doing great work on great series. Um, the animation, the standard animation when they're just walking around and talking and stuff like that is relatively standard 3D kind of CGI, kind of slow walking around, like semi kind of robotic kind of animation that you would see in a standard 3D CGI focused anime these days, right?
So,
Um,
like, but what about Trigun? That's the same, because it's gonna be compared to Trigun for CG.
Yeah. So, and also the effects, such as like snow, are very basic. Like when you see the snow kind of coming in, you know how obviously a lot of times when snow is modeled or like drawn in art, it kind of sprays, right? You see kind of spray or almost like particle effects. You see, if you do like online like fluid simulators of like oil or like bubbles or like whatever, you have these like little circles just kind of like all gathering up and gooping around. That's kind of the effect that the snow has in the anime, and it's like weird. And then sometimes the snow doesn't fall during scenes. um but so that's kind of when it's just basic. It's kind of like very standard level in terms of, oh, this is like just another 3D anime. But when it's doing specific actions like a comedic slap or it has battle scenes, it suddenly becomes very fluid. So they put pretty much their backs into making sure that at least those battle scenes, those scenes that are like super important, would get the attention that it deserved. And I think that's fine. And overall, I do think the animation, 3D animation, is quite good for a series that was done in 3D, but there's still something missing because it is entirely made in 3D. And I think what I kind of noticed was during the action scenes, right? For instance, like a sword fight between two people. There's like close ups of the faces, and then they clash with the swords, and then they kind of pause, and then they suddenly swing the sword upwards, and then there's the kind of the sword. The opponent has the evil guy has like the slight like slit of like blood that appears, right? Because the guy like slashed his cheek or whatever, right? So
At least it looks
the,
better than Kagaster of an insect cage. That was
yeah.
like I kind of like that manga, but it doesn't look that good.
So
Slightly
I
better than what is it? X Arm at least.
Yeah, I mean, X-Arm is not a very high hurdle, but what I kind of realized was that in 3D, you always have this exact same art style that's continuing throughout the entire scene, right? Whether it's like you can add like speed lines and like have close-ups and like change the camera angles, right? But the art style never changes in 3D, right?
I
Or at
mean,
least with the current technology.
that's yeah, that's
Whereas
definitely a limitation of current CG.
yeah, exactly. I wanted to make a note again. Thanks. Where it was like for with current technology, there's not much. You can't really modulate the art style. Whereas in 2D, with specific like pacing and like slapstick comedy versus action scenes versus whatever, there's always an actual variance in art styles. And because it doesn't capture that, I think it was still a little bit behind. But I think I would be a little bit remiss to be like, "Oh, that's Polygon Pictures' fault for blah blah blah." Well, they're a 3D studio. What are you going to do? So I think within the realm of 3D, it is still quite good, and it's a good step forward for the current uh, progress of the Japanese anime industry in trying to adapt more consistent 3D engines and processes. But I do think still that there is a little bit something missing that 2D covers well and that 3D kind of still fails to cover. So it's a little bit unfortunate, but I can't really
Why
fault Polygon Pictures
why
for that.
can't Studio Orange just steal all these fake 3D companies and
Take all these
just
contracts.
and be like, hey, Studio, you want CG? Studio Orange will take all of them.
Yeah.
They they can monopolize the CG industry because they're at the top of their game. So why not?
Gotta just be yeah, gotta
They're
just like
not
make
good
their own
enough
like
yet.
production IG kind of mega company. Yeah. That's sort of what I think about 3D in general. It's like okay. I mean, it's okay. It's standard in the regular scenes. It's quite good and it's fluid in the battle scenes. Overall, pretty decent. But
What's your
again,
favorite
it's
fight scene?
there's this one between the one of the like main sort of opposing opponent like knight girls, and then one of the kind of like captains of
A
the
Black Knight?
yeah, the Black Knight versus like the blue haired like soldier kind of dude. That was quite smooth and very well done. But again, that was part of like when the close-ups happen and like the blood on the cheek and stuff like that. I was like, oh, this would have been done differently. 2D is sort of like what I kind of realized. Um, BGM is obviously good. It's Hiroyuki Sawano. If even if I didn't think the BGM was that good, if I said that, I think
You'd be a
people would kill
liar.
me. Yeah, well, people will lynch me the next day. I think Nier would lynch me the next day. So, BGM is good. It's a good mix of synth for like ethereal and like kind of like threatening aura background scenes. But it kind of transitions into stuff like a lot of acoustic guitar and kind of some kind of snappy BGMs for action scenes. Very good contrast. Obviously, the I do really like this premise that Nihei Tsutomu sets out for having essentially two worlds split apart by the height and camp. So essentially, the story is you have this sort of world, and the bottom world on the ground is just like a great snow sea. It's just like snow freaking everywhere, and um, people have to live on that land and just kind of um, get the water where they can. But water is a scarce resource that's running up. falling short, falling uh, or decreasing by like every day. Yeah, Hiroki Sano did do the BGM for this, and there are two countries, two nations on the Snow Sea that are fighting the Atland and the Valgans, or whatever they're called. So the Valgans are essentially the evil, like empire, aggressive empire, and the Atlands is the usual, like, oh, we're the nice, peaceful kingdom that's being threatened, or whatever it is, and they're fighting and they do their statecraft, whatever. Um, and on the top, and so there's this tree that is on that sets itself within the snow sea, and goes all the way to the top. And these trees at the very tops, the canopies, are kind of filled. There's this like sort of glass layer, and there are people living on top of these canopies. So these canopies have these villages, but a lot of these villages also died out as the water also ran out on the top level as well. And there's only one village left at the beginning of the story, and that's where the main character lives. But then he meets the princess of Atland, one of the nations, the good nation from the bottom land, the Snow Sea, while she's kind of like being embroiled in conflict or whatever. She escapes through the canopy. The princess meets the main character, Kaina, and then they both kind of, scoot on back down to the ground level to help resolve the conflict, or to help return the princess back to her nation, and help kind of find out what's going on down under, and whether they can resolve the problem of nobody having any water and stuff like that. So, and then afterwards, it kind of devolves into like a kind of strange mix of, not a strange mix, but a general standard mix of a shitty statecraft, kind of, Japanese people trying to write statecraft in their usual shitty way, where it's like the good kingdom is fighting the evil empire and they're conflicting and, doing whatever, stuff like that. And then two is the other one where they're trying to find out more about the world and why there's no water and what the trees are doing, and you know how it, is there anything underneath the trees where the roots are, or somewhere up top, where, or is there something about these like bugs that are always flying around these trees where, you know where we can use the water or something like that? So the second part of it is trying to find the secrets of the world. And then there's like a very light, like romantic subplot that's not very done very well. The princess looks at the main character and then they blush and all that bullshit. That's not very good. Anyways, um, the water thing is not very important. It could be, it could be fire, it could be mana, it could be anything. It's not that important what exactly the scarce supply is. The writing of the author and the scriptwriters both show the quality of the writing of the good side characters, quote unquote, and slash like the main characters. They're pretty organic with regards to like interacting with each other and being like, "Oh, you should do this because I feel that way," and then I'll respond like this. That's good. But then the sort of evil opposing side, like with the Volgan villain side and stuff like that, are very flat and not developed very well. And what I will kind of say is, and I kind of started thinking about what it means to have an evil character, a good evil character, ever since, um, I want to say, you know, when I watch people react to the Marvel Cinematic Universe Infinity War arc, right? As well as, real life events from 2015, 2016 onwards ish, right? And I kept thinking to myself, what makes a good evil person, right? Or like what makes a person like, what makes a viewer from the outside really go like, wow, that person is evil. Oh god, like maddeningly kind of, instead of just being like, whatever, another kind of flat villain. And I feel like um they don't have an evil person doesn't have to have great morality. They can just be evil and do evil stuff, right? It doesn't have to be like how, in my opinion, like Thanos wasn't a very good villain because it was like, oh, I have great morality, and that was sort of like his entire shtick, and like I wasn't very impressed by that. Um,
Not to sidetrack
evil,
too much, I feel like a lot of people did say that, but I feel like I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but I feel like with Thanos, the more compelling part is that it was like,
the daughter,
no, it's like he's like, I have
no.
gray morality, and then you're like, but you don't though, because you kill entire planets, and then you're like, well, you kill half of planets, which is still bad, but you just think it's gray because you're fucking insane.
Oh, so you think the depth or not the value comes in from just the conflict between the heroes and Thanos and not Thanos's introspection is what you're saying.
Well, because it's like
Like you don't think Thanos'
Thanos
introspection is
has
not
like
important.
introspection. I think that's fine,
Hmm.
but I feel like when people are like, "Oh, Thanos has gray morality," I've always been like, no, he doesn't. Like, what do you mean? Like,
I
he's
mean, I
trying
think
to
the
justify
reason,
what he's
yeah,
doing, but it's like,
I think the reason most people find a villain like Thanos compelling is because when he speaks about his motives, when he goes on about, why the uh, the ends justify the means, et cetera, like he truly believes that.
Mm.
And
yeah, it's
whether
more so than like
it,
us believing
yeah,
it's gray.
it's
It's
not that
that
he's trying to, it's not
he,
that Thanos is out here trying to convince everyone else. It's that, he has fed this lie to
He's
himself for so
resigned.
long.
He's resigned to his decisions.
Yeah, like
yeah,
he has to
Okay,
believe
that's fair.
that
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
if he ever thinks otherwise, then
His brain will
he
blow up. Yeah,
he he will truly realize that he is just evil, right?
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
yeah.
he is just doing evil things for
That's
really
I
no
think
good
that's a good
reason.
interpretation. Yeah.
Um Obviously there are certain people out there that are like, no, actually Thanos is good. Um but
Yeah.
uh
Yeah, I think that's a good interpret. I think that's also a good thing then. So I think then maybe that wasn't maybe the Thanos thing wasn't a very good example, but what I kind of thought from my experiences from again the real life stuff as well as from other like kind of series where they're like oh great morality whatever. I don't think evil people don't necessarily need to be super organic and have great morality. They can be just like evil and just be selfish, but they need to have a very like obvious and like maddening self-interest. Like it's so obvious like where their self-interest that they're self-interested. And also like I think what's important that I realize is that evil people spend 10% of the time doing evil stuff and 90% of the time explaining to other people why that like what they're doing is fine or lying about it. You know what I mean? So
Is
I think
eating meat
that's
gray morality inspired?
well, you could call me the greatest of moralists. but but I think in this series the villains are just kind of going around and they're just like, haha, I'm killing people because I'm angry. And that's a very like green eggs and ham way of
The Lorax? Why green
describe.
lanterns at ham? Lorax is the one about cutting trees, right? Isn't that gray
yes,
morality?
yes.
Yes. It's a very green eggs and ham way of dealing with evil people in literature. And I kind of wish that the author plus the scriptwriter kind of tried a little bit harder on that, but it's unfortunately not the case. So I think kind of half of it falls quite flat. And that also has an impact on um the balance of the story. So I mentioned before that it was trying to balance between the very small, like 10%, 10%, 50%, 20%, like romantic subplot that's like very out of the way. And then the 40 to 50% of it is the two nations conflicting statecraft. And another 40, 50, like I want to say 35 to 50%, 45% of it is like finding out the secret of the world. In my opinion, the secret of the world plot part of it is the important part because it's just like, why is all the water running out? Oh, what's all this like eerie tree and snow sea about? Like that's the entire sort of general appeal of the anime, right? So I think they should have focused on that, and then and have the MCs do a little bit more of like the traveling kind of thing, while having the whole conflict between the two countries be sort of like tag along. But the series seems to focus a little bit more on the statecraft and the conflict between the two countries. And my guess is because that sort of statecraft is much easier to write about. Like Made in Abyss is much harder to write about than just like, you know, Game of Thrones Redux number 50, right?
Yeah.
So I think unfortunately the author and or the script writers
Well, Made in Abyss, I
ended
also
up
hear has a lot of gray morality too, right?
and it
Mm,
has
yeah, the gray morality
yeah.
of throwing children into death
Yeah,
elevators.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and doing experiments exactly. As their father,
It's
but
it's just another way of a. It's just another Thunderdome if you think about it. Two may enter, one may leave.
or none may leave in the case of Made in Abyss.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the author, unfortunately, consciously or subconsciously, found the statecraft easier to write, and it kind of ended up focusing around that, and has kind of minimized the whole finding the secret of the world part of it. And I think that was unfortunate because I think the attraction of this series is the secret of the world part. It's the ethereal trees, the giant bugs, the whole snow sea, the canopy. What's all this about? And the show does a very good job when it's actually focusing on that sort of on those sorts of aspects and showing actions that happen, things that happen in response to the main characters exploring the world instead of just talking about it, which it's a good habit, right? One of the rules of literature, show not tell, right? And it does a good job of that. But again, it doesn't focus on that part as much as it does the whole like state warring states kind of thing. So it's a little bit unfortunate. The opposing characters, the Volgan characters, the aggressive Empire characters aren't very convincing. They're not very organic. Um, what else is there?
Fire, what's your
Like
favorite movie?
my favorite movie,
What's your favorite Kevin Costner movie?
my favorite Kevin Costner movie.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't have a favorite Kevin Costner movie, but
What? I mean,
I don't remember
it's the
movies
one
by.
that's the one that's the most seen attraction at Disneyland.
I don't even
Or
remember
not Disneyland, Universal Studios, my bad.
if I had to say. Oh, Field of Dreams. Wait, was he?
No?
Yeah.
Oh, Spire, that's the wrong answer.
What is it?
The
What's the
correct
right
answer
answer?
is Waterworld.
I mean, Waterworld is also very good. It's like
Because like, so Spire, who would win in a fight?
Waterworld or Kaina. Is
Because,
that the question you're asking?
wait, sure, yeah, sure.
I think Waterworld would definitely win.
Okay,
I think Waterworld would definitely win.
I'm pretty sure Kevin Costner's movie cost more than this anime.
Yeah, I think Kevin Costner's movie costs more than most animes.
I mean,
But
or the point I was trying to make was why you keep watching these types of series, Spire? Didn't you also watch Children of the Whale? Wasn't that also a
I think that
Waterworld
was
like?
near.
Yeah, I
Yeah, to say
watched
it?
that one.
Yeah.
Spire, why do you
The
like
I think
Waterworld
I
like?
watched like Drifting Dragons and like one other like random stuff that was like the world stuff like that. But first
You
up
watched
like
what was that mech
Endreed or
one?
whatever.
Gargantia?
So you say no Gargantia? That one's
Yeah.
fine.
Yes. Yeah, I did watch Suicide no Gargantia.
Is that a Waterworld like?
The thing is, I really like
I mean, they were like literally on a fucking like
boat.
floating
Yeah,
like
with like
city.
jellyfish.
Like
Yeah,
yeah.
with like jellyfish. The thing is, I really like these sorts of big world like travel, even if it's not like necessarily traveling, like ethereal otherworld premises and stuff like that. And combined with the fact that I sometimes take the lesser known series of the season. I kind of end up with a lot of these, but I just I do like these sorts of things as well. But overall, I mean, getting back into the general subject, I think it's a little bit unfortunate. I th- uh there are parts about it. Every bit of this outside of like the visual, or sorry, outside of the audio, which is again Hiroyuki Sawano. Um oh, by the way, the opening is like done by Yorushika. It's like Telepath by Yorushika. It's like pretty standard. Not it's not Yeah, it's very run of the mill, kind of nothing to say about it. And the other one was the ending is Juvenile by Green. Both of them are pretty kind of like middle of the road. There's not much to say about it. But other than the BGM by Hiroyuki Sano, I think most of the aspects, whether it's the audio, whether it's visuals, whether it's the plot, whether it's the balance of kind of the script story, um, all these are or and character development as well. All these are things that could, I think, have been great with a little bit more massaging, with a little bit more molding, um, maybe with a little bit better writing from the author or whatever. But it was just one step away from greatness, just because of some of the pretty obvious flaws in it. So I think it's an okay series to skim, but I'm not entirely sure whether I would be able to fully recommend it with a clean conscience. Um, I would probably have to give this like a 6-ish. Yeah, 6. Yeah, 6. I think 6.5 is too much. Probably a 6 out of 10, but I think the major problem comes from the author banging too much on the statecraft part and the opposing empire characters being too flat, even when he does focus on the statecraft part. I think it was just not very well made. I think if the author had just focused on the secrets of the world kind of stuff, it would have been much cooler and much kind of better overall. But alas, it wasn't to be. So
So you're saying you like Polar Express better, huh?
Polar you could say that.
Is that the one
uh,
with the that's the one with the train, right? And the post-apocalyptic world,
What?
was it a post? I don't think it was a
wasn't it?
post-apocalyptic world.
No, no.
It was just the train.
Oh,
It,
I
it,
thought it
it
was
looked like a
post.
post. It might have. I think you're thinking of. It looks kind of like a post-apocalyptic world because the train is always like traveling through snow and stuff. Because obviously it's Polar Express.
I mean, they
I think that's
literally go to the North
yeah,
Pole,
yeah,
which is
exactly.
like a
I
big
think that's what
city.
Toast is. Yeah, 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 exactly.
No,
Toast is
what's the?
literally mixing up Polar Express with like fucking Snowpiercer.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's
Snowpiercer.
the one. That's the
Dude.
one.
It's
My
not
bad.
Snowpiercer. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think.
Polar Express is not Snowpiercer. Toast.
Snowpiercer is the one where like the only source of life is on the train, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Was it good? I don't remember that
Yes,
movie.
it is a very good movie.
Yeah,
Alright.
Snowpiercer is pretty good, and it has
So
like a
I
cool
so I
like
should
mix of
so you're
characters
saying
too.
I should watch Snowpiercer then?
Yes.
Got it.
Yes, absolutely. You should watch Snowpiercer.
Yeah. Anyways, that's all I had to say for kind of the Great Sea. I can't really recommend it with a clear conscience, but it again. It does have a solid team backing it, and it does really try to flex its Polygon Pictures with its, veteran vetted team plus, some great outsiders. Really does try to flex its 3D CGI anime project making muscles along with again Nihei Tsutomu of Ajin Blame, Knights of Sidonia fame. So if you like his works, I guess check it out. Again, Kaina the Great Snow Sea, O Yukimi no Kaina,
Do you
manga
th-
original.
do you think you would have rated this series better if it wasn't in the same block as Trigun?
No, I don't think so. Because I right now when I'm thinking about it, I'm like I specifically try to put blinders on and try to ignore like the existence of Trigun while I was watching it. Like that was an actual conscious thing that I tried to do, to be honest. Um, but yeah.